Black father took in a girl for one night, not knowing she was a millionaire's daughter. The rain poured over crumbling edges of Chicago's forgotten South Side, hammering rooftops and hissing against broken neon signs. The year was 2147, and the city was divided, not by walls, but by wealth. The skyline glittered with levitating sky yachts and glass towers owned by the elite, while below, neighborhoods like Southside existed in perpetual shadows. There were people scraping by on ration credits and salvage tech. Dion Carter, a single father in his late 30s, was used to shadows. A mechanic by trade and a dreamer by nature, he kept his small shop alive by repairing old hover bikes and drones. His 10-year-old son, Malik, was the only light in his life since his wife's death. Every evening, Dion would lock up early, cook canned meals, and tell Malik stories about how the world once used to be: free skies, clean oceans, and people not born with price tags on their DNA. That night, however, something unusual happened. As Dion locked the garage door, he saw a figure stumbling through the rain. Small, fragile, barely more than a silhouette in the dark. She wore clothes far too clean, too finely woven, to belong to anyone from his neighborhood. Her boots shimmered faintly with nano-wee protection, something only the wealthy could afford. "Hey!" Dion called out, concerned. "You lost, kid?" The girl lifted her face. Her pale skin was streaked with rain and fear. She couldn't have been more than 14. Her lips trembled before she spoke, her voice shaky but firm. They're after me. Please, just for tonight. I need a place to stay." Dion frowned. Every instinct told him to say no. He already had enough trouble keeping Malik safe. But her eyes, wide and desperate, reminded him of Malik's whenever nightmares woke him in the middle of the night. Against his better judgment, Dion opened the door. All right, one night. That's it. The stranger in the house. Inside, Malik stared wide-eyed at the soaked girl who followed his father into their small apartment above the garage. "Who's she?" he asked. "Just a guest," Dion said. "She'll be gone in the morning." The girl stayed silent, clutching a small metallic case against her chest as if her life depended on it. Dion offered her food, but she shook her head. Instead, she sat by the window, watching the rain. Malik, curious as ever, sat across from her. "I'm Malik," he said brightly. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Then, almost whispering, "Aria." It was a simple name, but Dion noticed how she said it. Like it carried weight, like it wasn't meant to be spoken in places like his. That night, as Malik slept, Dion noticed Aria still awake, clutching the metallic case. He tried again. "Aria, you running from somebody?" Her eyes darted away. "If they find me, it'll be bad. Not just for me. For anyone who helps me too." Dion exhaled sharply. He knew what that meant. In 2147, the wealthy didn't just own wealth. They owned power, law, even lives. Helping the wrong runaway could mean vanishing without a trace. Still, he said nothing. She was just a kid, whatever she was running from. She deserved at least one night of safety. Secrets in the case. The storm had cleared by morning, but trouble arrived just as fast. Dion woke to the sound of sleek hovercrafts humming overhead. Through the cracked blinds, he saw armored enforcers patrolling the street. Their insignia wasn't government. It was private security. Corporate. Aria stiffened. Her knuckles whitened on the metallic case. "They found me," she whispered. Dion grabbed her shoulder. "What the hell is going on? Who are you?" Before she could answer, Malik stumbled in, rubbing his eyes. "Dad?" Dion hushed him. He turned back to Aria. "If you're bringing danger here, you need to leave, now." But Aria did something unexpected. She opened the case. Inside was a glowing sphere, no larger than a grapefruit, humming with quiet power. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, symbols dancing across it. Dion felt its energy immediately, ancient, otherworldly, and far beyond anything he'd ever seen in all his years fixing machines. "This," Aria said softly, "is why they're after me. My father built it, and now he's dead." Dion's breath caught. "Your father?" Aria nodded. "Victor Hale, CEO of Hale Biodyne." Dion nearly dropped the case. Hale Biodyne wasn't just a company. It was the wealthiest biotech empire on Earth, rumored to have contracts with off-world colonies and even secret deals with alien species. And Victor Hale, he died just a week ago. News feeds had shown his face across every hollow screen. "You're his daughter," Dion muttered in disbelief. Aria looked away. "Half the world thinks I'm missing. The other half thinks I'm dead. And if they find me, one of those will be true. The hunt begins." Dion's first thought was to send her away. Let her problems stay with her gilded world. But Malik had already grown attached, and Dion knew deep down that if he turned her away now, he'd be no better than the people hunting her. He shut the case and handed it back. "All right, you can stay. But we need to keep moving. They'll search every block." The next hours were a blur. Dion packed a few supplies, hid Malik's school books, and loaded their old hover bike. The trio slipped out the back alley just as security forces began sweeping homes. As they rode across cracked highways, Arya explained everything. Her father had created the sphere, codenamed the Genesis Core. It was more than energy, it was life. It could terraform wastelands, heal poisoned air, even resurrect extinct species. But in the wrong hands, it could also destroy ecosystems, starve nations, or rewrite DNA for profit. That's why I ran, Arya said, clutching it tightly. My father wanted protected. He didn't trust the board. He trusted me. Dion shook his head. And you trusted me. A stranger. You didn't turn me in, she said simply, into the wastelands. They couldn't stay in Chicago. By nightfall, Dion guided them into the wastelands, a barren stretch of land where old wars had scorched the earth and left behind zones of twisted metal and broken machines. Few dared to go there, which made it the perfect hiding place. But safety was short-lived. Drones tracked their signal, and soon they were chased through the ruins. Dion fought with every tool he had, jury-rigging EMP grenades from scrap, rewiring Malik's old toy drones into decoys. Arya, though untrained, proved resourceful, reading corporate codes and hacking security networks to slow their pursuers. At one point, Malik asked, "Why don't they just leave us alone? You're not hurting anyone." Arya's face hardened. Because power never leaves anything alone, not when it wants to own it. A father's choice. Days turned into a desperate flight. Dion began to realize something he hadn't admitted before. Arya wasn't just a runaway millionaire's daughter. She was the key to changing the world. The Genesis Core could either save humanity or enslave it. One night, as they camped beneath the stars in the ruins of an old observatory, Arya turned to Dion. I can't keep running forever. If I use the core, I could change things. But once I've activated, there's no going back. Dion looked at Malik, fast asleep beside them. He thought of the air filters that broke down every week, the water rations that tasted like rust, the way children grew up coughing before they ever learned to dream. You do what your father trusted you to do, Dion said, and I'll make sure you live to do it. The final stand. They didn't have to wait long. At dawn, Hale Biodyne's forces surrounded the observatory, led by a cold executive named Morgan Vance. His voice boomed through speakers. Arya Hale, surrender the core and no one has to die. Dion tightened his grip on the plasma wrench he converted into a weapon. He glanced at Arya. She nodded. The fight was brutal. Dion and Arya held their ground, outsmarting drones and disabling suits with every trick they had. Malik even helped, rewiring an old satellite dish to fry enemy signals. But numbers overwhelmed them. At the last moment, as Vance closed in, Arya activated the Genesis Core. The world shifted. Light poured out, brilliant and alive, surging across the wasteland. Dead soil turned green, air cleared, and broken machines dissolved into vines. The core had chosen life over profit. Vance screamed as his soldiers' weapons short-circuited, swallowed by roots and grass. In minutes, the battlefield was no longer steel and ash. It was a blooming forest. A new dawn. When silence fell, Arya stood trembling, the core dim in her hands. She looked at Dion. It worked, but it's only the beginning. Dion, exhausted, nodded. Then let's make sure it spreads. The world soon learned of the Genesis Core, not from the corporations, but from the people. Word spread that the daughter of Victor Hale had defied the Empire and chosen life for all. Dion never asked for thanks, but in Malik's eyes, he saw something better than gratitude, hope. For the first time in years, the boy dreamed of a future where skies were blue and streets were safe. And as for Arya, she was no longer just a millionaire's daughter. She was a survivor, a fighter, and perhaps the one who would lead humanity into a new age. All because one black father took her in for one night and chose compassion over fear.